Hi, we're so happy to have you today, Chris. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, ladies.
Appreciate it. So, Chris, I know that you are a hospice nurse, and I think we probably have some listeners who are not familiar with hospice and what you do. Can you briefly tell our listeners?
Yes, hospice is the care of end of life. What we do is get comfort care at the end of life. The way that somebody is deemed to be hospice appropriate, two physicians must say that this person, if natural causes were to take effect with their comorbidities, they would no longer be with us after 6 months in their physical way of being. That does not mean that the person is definitely going to pass within those 6 months of what the state allows us to do. A lot of hospice patients stay on service for 2, 3, 4 periods, which are every 6 months. And there's patients that even graduate from hospice. Those are our favorite patients.
Of course. That's really nice. So it just seems like it must be the saddest job on the planet. What made you want to?
So every time I tell somebody, oh, what do you do for a living? And I always say, I do hospice. The first words out of their mouth, oh my God, that is so sad. That is so overwhelming. I always feel totally the opposite. I believe it's a blessing to be able to be there and give comfort, not only to the patient that we're caring for, but for the families during that end of life and that transition from the physical body to the energy body, and being somebody that does believe in energies being transitioned from this physical world to the next one. It is a beautiful experience to be there and see that transition happen and the energies being exchanged. So it just felt right, and it's the right place for me to be at this time in my life. Hospice is still there for 13 months after the patient has passed on to the next level of energy to take care of the ones left behind grieving. Everybody asks me, why 13 months? Because month 13 has been proven is the toughest month when we have lost somebody. That's when we realize that physical person, that physical energy is no longer here.
It would take my husband probably more like 20 months to notice I'm not around, but
I've had a personal experience losing my father, and it's been more than 13 months. And I can tell you, it's hard even after month 13. A lot of people, when I lost my dad, very emotional. They're like, oh, but you work for hospice. Just because I work for hospice, it doesn't mean that I get used to losing that physical attachment to the person. And that's what we come in there and tell everybody. Use this time to truly give them the best quality of life and dignity at end of life. So that transition is a lot easier.
It's a shame that the West does not look at the end of life the same way as they would look at birth or rebirth and things like that, because it would probably help the families as well. And even losing my mother 10 years, 11 years, it never, the pain of the loss and the physical, yes, does not ever go away. But like you said, that first year, it's the first of everything. You haven't had them on Thanksgiving, on their birthday, on graduations. There was, all these special times. And that's the thing that is probably the most difficult that first year. So yeah, I think that's amazing.
I am a spiritual person. I do believe that once we live this physical world, we definitely move on to a higher level of energy. And I can tell you in my personal experiences with patients, they have come back and have shown me certain things after they have moved on. I really feel that all the blessings that come to me from the other side, a lot of them have to do because of the patients that are no longer here, not just loved ones that are here for me. So it's just a beautiful transition to see this person change those energy levels. And I've seen the person is gone way before they take their last breath.
That's fascinating. And that's one of the things that obviously as psychic mediums that we feel the energy of the people. And that's what we want to explain to people so that they feel more comfortable understanding that we're not really that far away. They're here with us in spirit, and they're also on the other side, okay. So it sounds like you doing your job is the same way we feel about what we do. We're helping other people. We feel gratitude. We don't feel as much sadness, not that we don't need grief. Everyone needs to grieve, but it sounds like something that is so rewarding in a way of how you help the families, and even how you help the person that's moving or transitioning to the other side. Can you tell us some amazing stories that I'm sure that you have that will inspire people to understand?
So like one of the ones that has always resonated within me is the change of temperature in the room. So every time you watch a scary movie and they say a spirit is coming through, they lower the temperature and you think it gets cold. It could go the opposite way. I've seen where the room becomes very, very hot and feels like there's a lot of other energies there, and you see the patient, maybe the patient was incoherent all this time, and out of nowhere they start reaching up to see if they're touching, and you ask them, how can I help you, how can I help you? And they're saying, I am moving, I want to go there, I want to go there, I can feel the sun, I can feel the heat. That is them moving on, and you could see them, their levels of energies are being transferred from the physical part on to the next level of energy. Most of the time, if there is a pet in the house, the pet either starts howling or meowing or just making different noises around the person that's about to transition. We get calls all the times from the families that they feel their loved ones are about to transition. One of our duties, doesn't matter what time of the day or night is, we have to go and either say, yes, the patient is transitioning, or no, this is just part of the disease. And I can tell you, when we go there and there's animals, we look first at the animal to see if the transitioning is happening before we, or children can
Agree.
tell you right away with their look or the way that they are, if that loved one is transitioning, and if it's transitioning in a positive way, or if the family, a lot of times the family are not ready to let go of that loved one, and you could see where they're holding back that loved one from moving on. And that's when you hear, 3 days ago, we had something happen like this, that the daughter wasn't ready to let the mom go. And we knew for a fact the mom was ready to go. 3 glasses broke in a matter of maybe 3 minutes, shattered out of nowhere. Like if something came through and just broke the glasses down the middle, the water half spilled. And I looked at her, I go, didn't you say that your father used to always break glasses when something positive needed to happen? And she looked at me, I go, I believe this is your father letting you know it's time to let mom go.
Wow.
She
It's
started,
fascinating.
she started crying so overwhelmingly, to the point that we had to give her oxygen. And we asked her, just go next to, no, I can't. I go, please go to mom, let her know it's okay, you're going to be okay, you have us here and you have them above you, they're here. And within minutes, the lady did transition, and she transitioned with a beautiful last breath and with a smile in the face, because she has realized it's time to move on to the next level. And her loved one came to get her, and her daughter was able to let go also.
It's amazing how even when my mother was in hospice, and it was at least 8 days, a lot of the hospice nurses mentioned to us that sometimes they don't want their loved ones around them when they pass on, because they're kind of in between. And they see the other side, and they see that it's beautiful, and they see their loved ones, and they're ready to move on, but they also see their family that's here suffering with the pain of them leaving. So it's an in-between place. I decided to lie in bed next to my mother, actually, so I could see through her what she felt like. And that in between there was no pain. And she was saying telepathically, because she wasn't able to speak, she just wanted her children to be there one last time. And then she'd be able to move on. So I called my brother. There's 5 siblings. They all
I
came. They
lost the
all
connection.
said,
I believe also a lot of that has to do with the fear of death. People are scared of death because since you're young, they scare you, they talk to you. I think if we talk more open and have people accept that the person physically is not going to be here, but let's open our mind and allow us to get this energy from wherever this soul is moving on to, it would make the transition a lot easier for that person to be on hospice and move on with the transition of it.
even with children, I think that children, like you said, and pets, the same. And when my uncle passed at our house where I grew up, there was crazy stories about that because there's no way he could have even gotten out of bed. He was so weak. Yet he got out of bed and we saw him walking and we're like, where are you going? He said, the angels are calling me. And we never really even told him that he was ready to transition. I think he just knew. But hearing things like that, and even the night that he passed, when he actually always said good night, he used to call me pretty face. And he goes, good night, pretty face, good night, pretty face. Every night I kissed him good night. I was about 13. The night that he passed, he actually said, goodbye, pretty face.
Yes.
And I went back to my room and I said, wait a minute, something's off here. And I knew. So when I came back, that was the exact moment that he passed. So I'm sure you have many experiences like that as well.
And they know when they're passing, like you said, is we are the ones that hold them back. We are the ones that don't want them to go. So we have to let the family know they're moving on to something better where there's no pain and there's no suffering. Fans start twirling all the time when it's about that time to happen. They haven't been turned on, but they start moving without, and at that moment, the loved ones don't realize what's going on or what's happening. And then maybe a month later, a month and a half later, when the chaplain calls or the social worker calls to follow up, they tell them, oh, do you know what? And that's when we tell them, yes, it's all depending what your beliefs are. But sometimes the loved ones come and helps them move on to the next level so they have an easier transition from this world to the next world. But the same as you think that they're passing and they're about to take their last breath, and out of nowhere they sit up, they look at you, they talk, and you think they're talking to you, but they're having a conversation with an angel that has come to get them and told them it's ready to go. And they just lay right back, take that last deep breath, close their eyes, and they've moved on. And you look at yourself like, what just happened? And that's when you realize somebody was else there helping them, assist them, because we can only assist with pain, with chemical stuff. That's what the Western world, that's what this world has given us. We can assist them with the spiritual passing. It would be beautiful if we could do that also.
I had mentioned before that I'm in geriatrics, and I have noticed when I have very sick clients that usually a couple weeks before they're about to die, they start talking about their loved ones, their mother, their brother, like they're still alive. And I've had a client, I remember one time she was just about to die. I mean, it was within minutes of her passing, and she would say, oh, my sister's here, look at my sister. And I'm looking around because it was so convincing.
It happens a lot more than people think it does. It happens, I would say 90 to 95% of the time. that yes, someone from the other side that has passed does come. A lot of them, to me, from what I've seen, and you ask them, it's like they're living a movie reel of their life. And a lot of them stay in their childhood. They like talk to their parents again, like if they're children again, and they want to go out and play like if they're children again. They don't see themselves in the physical state that they are passing. They see themselves young and full of life, and their parents or their love or husband, a lot of them come and do that, but 99% of the time it's parents that come back. That's who they talk to, because you sit there and you ask, people say, oh my God, she's talking about my grandmother. My grandmother died 20 years ago, my grandmother. And she's like, Mom, what about the, and you the name, and you're saying what's happening, and they're looking, or they're closed, their eyes are closed, and they're just talking to somebody or reaching out to somebody. A lot of them still believe in the taste of food. Maybe they haven't eaten in days, but they're like, oh, this is so good what you brought me. And you're asking, what did I bring? And it's because they're remembering those times of that loved one that is helping them transition. The way I take it is they're making it a comfortable transition from this world, more relevant. So it's an easier transition.
They also love music.
Yes.
So when you said the music therapy, I've spoken to many people that said that, including myself, who brought music into the hospice room to play the music that they loved. Because
yes,
even though we don't realize that maybe they can't speak, or maybe we think that they can't see, or maybe they've been blind for months, they are outside of their body when they're in the in-between. They can hear and see, and their senses are much more heightened in that transition, and they can hear the music. And they
our
can
music
see
therapists are not people. When I say music therapist, a lot of people think it's a karaoke singer coming with a boombox and a mask and a mic. No, our music therapists are clinically trained that have a gift from above, that they're also very musically talented. So they are able to see the physical changes. And it has been shown, and I've spoken to my music therapist, who is a very spiritual person. She says that the sound of the notes, the frequency of the notes, it's what connects with the next level of energy that allows that passing to be a lot smoother. So when hospice patients get extubated, most of the time they will have a music therapist there playing specific chords, because they're concentrating on the levels of energy that those tones are doing, and not on the respiration.
which is the frequency of the music, which sometimes
Exactly.
I could hear the frequency knowing, oh, I think they want to speak to me. And when my mother passed, and Amy, I don't know if you had that experience as well, I heard it was the most beautiful music that I'd never heard before, that was a different frequency, for days after my mother passed. And I knew it was almost like they say angels singing.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's like I feel that that's what I felt with my father too. And I feel that even if music therapy is not there when that person's about to pass, for me, it's more like a trumpet sound that I hear.
Wow.
That's letting me know. I know maybe it sounds what they say in the Bible, but it is like a very high pitched, different type of sound that comes through, the same as the chills that you get in the back of the neck. You could, when you're holding somebody's hand and they're passing, and you feel things behind you, and that's where you get that chill in the neck, and you get the goosebumps, and you get salivation extra in the mouth, like if you're about to become nauseous. And I believe it's those other energies that are there that are so strong, that are helping this person pass on to that other energy. And if you're aware of it, you could feel it a lot more than if you wouldn't be aware of it. So for anybody that's listening to this podcast, and in the near future, or if they're having loved ones that are in hospice, just open your mind to that moment of transition and let it just take over you and allow those other beautiful energies to come upon you so you can make the transition for this other loved one beautiful, and also for yourself, something very positive, I believe.
I had a, thank you, Chris. That
You're
I think
welcome.
was wonderful advice. I just had one other story I wanted to share. I had a situation also with an elderly client who was passing away. We thought that she was not coherent. She hadn't eaten, spoken, made any movements in days. And when her body was starting to shut down and we knew she was getting close to the time, I went to the nurse's station. It was before cell phones, and I got their phone and I called her son, who couldn't be there. And I put the phone next to her and he said, "Mom, I love you. It's time for you to go peacefully." By the time I returned the phone to the nurse's station and got back in the room, she had passed. So I think a lot more than.
I'm going to share the story that till this day, just right now, thinking about it gives me just overwhelming goosebumps, even a pit in my stomach. And it's taken me about 30 to 40 minutes just to get the courage of bringing it up, because it's so strong. So it was one of the first patients that we had ever worked in. I had worked inside of one of our inpatient units. Was a younger gentleman. He must have been in his mid-40s. He was a diabetic and also suffered from seizures. And he had a low blood sugar and had a seizure, fell down, hit his head, ended up in a coma. There was no brain activity. Family has decided to, go ahead and extubate him and let him take his normal process. His sister comes and I tell her, I'm not sure how long it's going to be before he passes after we extubate him. And she looks at me, she goes, "Listen to me. My brother says that the day he's going to leave this world, the fat lady's going to come and sing, and then he's ready to leave this world." So I said, "Okay." We started the extubation. Everything went, 30 minutes went by, 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours went by. We're doing our regular business. Out of nowhere, this lady comes out of the elevator, heavy set lady, stands by his door, sings hallelujah. We all go over there. Within a matter of seconds, he is no longer with us. When we turned around to look for her, she was no longer there.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Yeah.
She was no longer there, ladies.
We're actually speechless. Amy and I are never speechless.
We're not speechless.
No, nobody knows who she is. Nobody has ever seen her. Nobody has ever seen her again. The family doesn't know who she is.
Wow.
I can tell you who she is. She was his angel.
Yep.
And she was making his wish come true.
I might start tearing up.
Yes.
Sorry.
So now you know why it took me
Wow.
so long, because this is not just temperatures, feelings. This is a physical being that was there to assist this loving human being pass on to the next life.
And I think they send those angels for not only the ones that are passing, but also for the family and for us, which
Absolutely.
is why we have to have gratitude towards that. It is fascinating. Even when I went to visit my mother at the mausoleum and I saw a person, a woman who looked just like I'm looking at you right now, I know she was an angel. I put on my piano music when I'm visiting. I just was sitting there. I know that her body is there, but I know the rest, her spirit is everywhere. But I put on my piano music only because she made me take piano lessons. So I'm playing it and the lady walked over and said that. She said, "Oh, she hears you. Which one's your mother?" And I said, "Right there, Joyce." And she said, "Oh, don't worry, she hears you." And then I looked around and she disappeared. And I knew that she was just giving me the message that my mother heard. She saw, she was there. It's beautiful.
I was so overwhelmed by it. It took me probably a couple hours just to like reassess what had just happened. And for people that have been in hospitals, they know that hospitals, when you check in, you have to give an ID and they give you now a pass and everything. I know security. The next day, I took it upon myself to go downstairs to security. Of course, I had the time frame that this person had come in, and I asked them, please, I need you to let me see all of the IDs that you have scanned from this time to this time. None of them was her. None of them was her.
And Chris,
None of them
other
were
people
her.
saw it besides you?
What?
There were other people saw this woman?
Oh, 10, everybody saw her.
Everyone saw
Everybody saw her. We even asked her, how may we help you? Because I'm coming to see Johnny. So we thought she was coming, and she stood by the door saying, as we start walking, she walks by us. He passed, we turned around. It's like disappeared, gone.
Wow.
That for me, that has been my strongest story. That's the one that just solidifies for me that yes, we do have angels that come for us. Yes, and sometimes they come in different forms. Sometimes they do come in a physical form. We do have angels walking in this world.
I'm sorry, you got me all emotional. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
They have to cut out. No, it's okay. It's just,
We're gonna leave it in. It's good drama for you. No, but honestly, Chris, it sounds like you're in the right profession. You're the angel here on this earth for all these people that you've helped. So it's amazing.
I feel very content. I believe my soul is filled with lots and lots of love to give to all of those loved ones and all those family members and all those patients that need to pass on. And for me, the biggest gift that the universe has given me is to be at peace with passing. And because I'm at peace with myself with passing, I believe I can give that peace to anybody that comes around me during this time.
And that's
Sorry,
what
I got emotional too.
I know.
it happens on our show all the time for some reason.
Amy, do we not do the same thing? This is why we do what we do, to help other people understand what we feel. And
Yes.
yeah, it's not always sad. It's emotional. There's no question, but it makes you realize how much there's a universe, a bigger picture. There's something much bigger than us.
And then for me, it makes me, because I am a believer of the energies transferring over, because I have experienced it myself with my father, that I know for a fact my father's sitting right now behind me. I know that it's just a feeling that you have.
Chris, I almost said to you, I actually saw a shadow behind your right shoulder about 10 minutes ago. And I was thinking it was your father. I didn't say anything, of course.
Amy, both of you, somebody's been twirling with my hair since I started the pod, because I was anxious and nervous. And I said, I need to calm down. Somebody has been kind of like saying, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And yes, it is him. He is always here. And because of that, I believe the gift that I've been given, that I believe in, that even if I don't verbalize it to the family members, just by the touch that I give them, I believe they feel much more comfortable being able to let go of their loved one and their physical being and moving on to the next journey that they have to do. And that's all it is. We're in this world just for a journey.
Yes, and you're authentic. So when people know that, they understand if a nurse or if a doctor or if someone is, you may or may not have good bedside manner, but I have never met a hospice nurse or anybody in that type of field that didn't have that compassion, didn't understand there is something bigger. And so you are authentic. And
Thank
so
you.
that's why they feel that.
Thank you.
And it
Thank you.
helps.
And I see truly what love is when you see two people that have been married for 60, 65 years, 68 years, and one of them is going. And you see how that loved one sits there and grabs their hand and kisses them and tells them, I
Got me
love
again.
you, I'm here. That's when you say to yourself, I have hope. There is love. I can find love. There is
And in
people
all
out
of the
there.
crazy of the world, that's what we need.
Yes. And that gives you hope when you see that, or when families have issues and you see families coming together, that gives you hope again, that even if you're having personal family issues, hey, let's get over them, because we are here in borrowed time, and let's do it as beautiful and as positive as we can do it, even if it's end of life. Let's reconciliate and let's get those energies together, because I have seen people do transition when there's no turmoil within families. When there's turmoil within the families, people don't transition that easily. When the family unites like a ball of energy, it just pushes it up. When there's turmoil, you could sense that ball being destroyed, and that loved one doesn't want to go because she knows that her passing may bring more turmoil to that family.
Wow.
Interesting. I know that's why my mother said, I need all 5 of my children around me. And that's why we all came. We all spoke to her. And even when we hung out in the other room, it was as if we were those 5 children. And yes, we've all had different situations, and we had different significant other people, whatever it might be, but we hung out in this room until 6 a.m. when she passed. And I know that us talking, laughing, being together was that exact thing that she wanted before she passed.
Of course, she wants to leave the ones behind, or anybody wants to leave the ones behind with as much comfort as possible that you can leave them with. That I've realized. So a lot of times there is family issues, and you could see where our social work comes in and our chaplain, and they start working with the family, and we're saying the patient is going to know. And not until those issues are not resolved, that patient is not going to transition, because that may be part of their job and duty to be here to fix things. And it does happen a lot of times. A lot of them are the matriarchs of the families. They're the glue that holds all of it together. And they want to make sure that if they're not here physically, that glue's still going to be putting them together. Thank you for the opportunity, not only to talk about my personal experiences, but most importantly, talking about the comfort conversation of hospice. Hospice is not something to be scared of. Shouldn't think that we are the angels of death with a bottle of morphine here to kill your loved one at the end of life. No, we want to give dignity and comfort at the end of life. Because if you see your loved one go with dignity and comfort, your soul is at rest. And that's what we're here for.
I think that's
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chris,
Thank you.
Can you just tell our listeners what hospice you work for, so maybe they'll?
Yes, I work for Continuum Healthcare of Broward County. We are a national hospice provider. I call ourselves a boutique hospice because we work more in homes, assisted living facilities, and nursing homes. We want to bring the end of life experience to where the family and the person that's transitioning feels the best and is going to go with the least amount of pain. But any hospice provider that anybody picks is going to be a great hospice provider. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks.
Love you.
Thanks. So beautiful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we have a caller that just happens to be Amy's sister-in-law. And she's a rabbi and lives in Florida, and she just has some really cool stories she's going to share with us. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm great. This is Brunette Amy.
Hi, Elsie.
Hi, Amy.
So you're married to Amy's brother.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you first found out that your boyfriend, husband has a sister that's psychic?
Amy always spoke to her mother every year on her birthday since that she passed away. So the week before, I was in my living room. It's about 40 minutes away from Amy's home. And I said to my husband, I really have to do something with my hands again, like sew or knit or something like that. And, you know, husbands, they humor you. They say, of course, that's such a great idea. So about a week or two later, Amy calls and says, well, I talked to Mom. I have to tell you what she said. I said, okay. She said, well, congratulations. I know you're having a new grandchild. I know it's going to be a boy. And Amy knew all that already.
Okay.
Then Amy said, and Mom said, you should start doing something with your hands again. You were always very good at it. We all, her mother, Amy's mom, my mother-in-law, my mother who's still alive, me, my grandmother, we all sewed together. We all went to the same fabric store together. We all shared ideas and shared patterns and shared, you know, stuff about sewing when I was a teenager. So actually my aunt in Baltimore owned a fabric store, and Wayne, my aunt, told Amy's mother that me and my husband would be good for each other and we should fix them up. And this is 50 years ago. Favorite is, when my father passed away, he passed away 4 years ago, November. No, actually 5 years ago in November. And while we were in the room while he was passing over, we're standing there and two other people are standing there, the caregivers. And Wayne, my husband got the telephone rang while we're standing there. And it was Amy. And Amy said, your father-in-law has just passed away. 4 people came to meet him.
Wow.
And I know the 4 people was my grandparents, his brother, and my aunt. And then he said, tell Ellen to get my football jersey. And I was the only one of all the brothers and sisters that he gave their football jersey to.
Wow.
And then my aunt, whose name is Rochelle, but her Yiddish name is Rachel. And when we were kids, called her Bookie because we couldn't say the word Rachel. Amy said to me, your father said, tell Rochelle, that I am fine and don't worry about me. And I'm with the family and they're all taking care of me.
And Amy did not know the name Rachel? Is that what you said?
Amy did not know that she was Bookie.
Wow.
I call Uncle Willie and Cookie. Yeah.
Wow.
She didn't even know that the woman's name was Rochelle.
Wow. Help with your mourning. Did that help a little bit with the passing?
Well, it unbelievably.
Wow.
Because I knew that he was okay wherever he was, and that he wasn't uncomfortable. And the last 10 years of his life, he had Parkinson's disease, so he was uncomfortable the whole time.
Yeah.
It was so helpful.
Yeah.
I think Uncle Willie came first, and I was in my bedroom, and he said, "You need to call because he's going to be leaving soon." And as soon as I called, that's when my brother said he just took his last breath.
In July, a friend of mine's father died, and Amy talked to him, and his name was Eugene. He called him Papa Gino. And Amy never had even heard his name before, and called me back and said, oh, Papa Gino just got in touch with me.
We'd love to hear another story.
There was a woman, and she is now about 93 years old, and her right before he died, it was 4 years ago, right before he died, they made videos to put online about his life in Israel since 1948. Okay, this guy was 95 when he died.
Right.
And the 4 videos were somewhere, and Charlotte had lost 3 of the 4 videos. And Amy said to me, when you go to Charlotte, please tell her that Stanley, her brother, said that tonight somebody's going to come to the house to visit, and the 3 videos that you can't find, somebody there is going to be able to find them. And I'm sitting with Charlotte and another woman who was very computer literate. Charlotte said something about the videos, and the woman looked at her and said, "Come on, Charlotte, I'll help you find the videos." And within 3 minutes, they had the videos downloaded.
Oh my gosh.
Charlotte said that she would always have them.
That's really incredible. Before we started videoing, you told me as a rabbi, you do a lot of funerals.
Well, those are two people from the funeral.
Okay. But you were telling me you use Amy to help some of the mourners. Is that correct?
Yes. I always call Amy and say, "This is the name of the person. Can you contact them?" And I think the people like me just want to know that they're there and that they see them and that they, know what's going on here. Even though they're not here. Every time I've had absolutely amazing responses from everybody.
Wow.
So.
The people we've had on our show have just talked about how unbelievably, getting messages, how it's just helped them incredibly with their grieving.
I so believe that.
Yeah.
We have to keep our ego out of it. That's kind of an important thing. We are just the messengers, so we're trying to be as humbled as possible because our main thing is hearing from the other side, getting the message, and then relaying the message to help as many people as possible. So
I've been told the people who have passed are really anxious for people like us to get their messages and to give it to their loved ones.
Well, from my experience, you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
They always, and in the very beginning, 5-6 years ago, I would never even thought that people would want to hear from, their loved one, but they all really, really want to hear.
Right.
I just learned in a webinar recently, Richard Knight is the name of the person. So I'm going to do a shout out to him because I think he's great. But the messages that they want to hear, sometimes they're very simple, just like I love you and I'm here for you. And thank you for being there for me in the end. And I'm watching over you. Like very simple messages. But as a medium, as a psychic, what we have to do is validate that it's them. So we have to say something that lets them know it is that person, their person. So sometimes the most random things we have to say, even if we don't understand it, it makes no sense to us. It's not part of our logic. It doesn't matter. It has to be something for them. So
give Amy a name of anybody without asking the loved one first.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Ellen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you came on our show. Thank you.
And good luck with everything.
Thanks. You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye. So our next show is going to be wonderful too. It's we're going to spend a little more time talking about how you, our listeners, can develop or improve your own intuitive or psychic abilities and skills. And if you haven't already watched our previous 5 shows, please go to YouTube, Amy to the Second Power. It's all one word, and subscribe. We'd love to have you.
On our next show, we're also probably going to speak a little bit more about signs and symbols and how you can interpret them. So that might be helpful to you as well. So, and even a little bit more on the how to meditate or how to be able to contact your own loved ones without maybe having us here. Be open, expecting, accepting, and trusting, and keep practicing.
Bye, Aim.
Have a good week.
You too.
bensound.com. bensound.com. bensound.com.